Live from the internet, this is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. Today is episode 65, recorded on this Thursday, August 15th, in the United States at least, 2019. It's already Friday in parts of the world, and so we welcome you, regardless of where you are. Thank you all for joining us live on Twitch. Those who are with us, we always appreciate having a crowd out on Twitch each Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time or 1 a.m. UTC. Welcome all those joining us through the many different ways we have to share our podcast. You know, we have a lot of content creators, a lot of YouTubers, a lot of Twitch streamers. We try to do something a little bit different here on the Crystal Chronicles. We just try to have a conversation about Dissidia Final Fantasy, Opera Omnia, or DeFo, as the kids call it, and we invite you all to join us in that conversation. So welcome to all of you. I am joined tonight by my co-hosts. First is the very exhausted, somewhat sleepy, overworked, underpaid. His name is Mino Spellgood. How you doing, Mino?
Thank you, Mark. A very generous description, but as I was just telling Mark before the show, it's my own fault. I try to always have something to do on the weekdays. Every day of the week lately, I've been booking something. So I honestly should just take time off, but I guess I'm one of those people who can't say no to invites. I don't know. I have this. What do the kids call it? FOMO, fear of missing out.
You got the FOMO.
Yeah,
you got a little FOMO.
Yeah, you gotta say yes to all the invites and keep busy. Gotta be like, I don't know, feels bad. Blah.
Yeah.
But anyways, it'll be over soon. At least the good thing is my job isn't super strenuous right now. If it was, I would totally say no to everything after work. But how are you doing? Oh, wait, before I segue, you should introduce our other co-host.
We are also joined by our friend in his name, and he's probably a little sleepy as well, but hopefully not underpaid. His name is Crees, aka Zurink. How you doing, Crees?
I am doing well, and I am also tired, yes.
Yeah.
Why are you tired, Crees?
School year started.
Yes.
Oh, really?
The school year.
August.
My kids are already back in school, all three of my kids, so it is a school year around here.
I swear, it's early and earlier every year.
It's mid-August. This is standard.
Shout out to our friend Masalento Games, who's joining us here at 3 a.m. His time, so great to have you. And several others I know who are joining us for holidays or back to shenanigans and everything else times. Yeah, great to have everybody here with us. We got some new badges, so thank you all you subscribers. You can enjoy and just bask in your new colorful badges. Thanks to Jin Lee for making those badges up for us for Twitch subscribers. Thank you.
Shara is asking if I am in high school. I am not in high school.
Yes.
Nursing school.
Yes. Crees is a professor, not a student.
Of nurses. A professor of nurses.
Not a nurse.
I am not a nurse, despite what Mino thinks at times.
No, I said professor of nurses. That's accurate,
professor.
Right?
That is accurate, yes.
There we go.
I remember I keep asking Crees for medical advice, and he says, I'm not a nurse.
Yes, not
I
a
just
nurse.
teach nurses. I'm not qualified. Stop asking me.
I've started going to the extreme decisions when Mino continues to ask now. I think the last time he asked what he should do, I told him it's terminal, and he'll die in 2 weeks.
Probably.
He's still alive, so I must be correct.
Almost.
He said 3 weeks, so we'll see. We'll see. Time's not up yet.
I am married to a medical professional. They don't appreciate when you ask advice outside of the times that they work. Interestingly.
Really?
All right, there is some news. Not a lot. We got a repeat costume, not a new costume. It is Layle's Palace Ball costume for your fancy party dress. So we have a lot of fancy party characters. Squall and Renoa in their ball attire. We have Layle in his Palace Ball costume. We have Setzer, of course, dressed to the T. And, of course, Kuja's fancy party costume as well. So if you missed out on Layle tuxedo costume and some free additional gems. They're not free, you pay for them. Pick it up now. It's so exciting.
Hey, speaking of which,
what to say
did
about
they
that.
announce a new costume for this month?
It was Zach. We got it a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, okay.
Thank you.
You know, see, I've purposely been less involved in the game just for this podcast, so I could provide that new viewer / player perspective.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure the new
that.
players already knew about the costume.
I'm just saying I'm going to be asking a lot more questions like that coming up. So
thank you, Strafe, for the subscribe on Twitch Prime. There are Masaleno saying I wanted the Vayne costume. If you don't know, in Japan, Vayne has an alternate skin, and Fran has a costume as well. We don't believe we're going to get either one of those costumes this month in Global. We'll get them in the future. They're both very interesting costumes, but we'll talk about them more. Yes, Vayne is very, very pumped and a little bit darker skinned, which is strange. But Fran is less dressed than she was before, which is not saying a lot. So we'll be excited when we get those costumes and probably buy them because I buy all the costumes. That's what I do.
So for Vayne, I thought you played 12, Mark. You skipped that one?
No, I played 12. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's his final boss form. Right?
Oh, is that what the costume's supposed to represent? His final boss form? Minus,
yeah, it is.
Minus all of the stuff added from the ships, right? Because he absorbs.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
So,
and then also, very disappointed. So,
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing.
Thought that we get these costumes spaced out so we can get every month GL, which we got, Zach. But this one released. This is the first time I think a double new costume dropped in a month in JP. So if we have to wait for the L season, we're also getting 2 new costumes when that comes around for us. That's a strange break in the past.
Oh, just as a little aside, while we're still on news, a update just went live. Rydia can now be awakened to level 60.
Everybody go awaken Rydia. She needs.
You mean 70, right?
Yeah, right.
No, 60. 60. Yes,
she might be useful if she was 70. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit. There was also some maintenance. Unfortunately, it was only maintenance to remove the special boosted characters in your Shiva summon boards. So goodbye, special boosted bonus. If you're not familiar with the idea of special boosted, because we constantly say the wrong thing, you may also know it as super synergy, or those special glowing characters that give all your other characters double XP for those first 2 weeks of each summon board. The good news is there was a time in Japan when special boosted for us came back for them in the first 3 summon boards. So we may get that again in the future, kind of another try at, for Japan, super synergy, for us, those special boosted characters. So yes, and as 5DPZ is saying, all characters we currently have can now be level 60, crystal strength 60 as of this update 9 minutes ago. So now with Rydia, everyone can go. Jake's saying with that reintroducing the special boosted for Ifrit, Shiva, and Rama, you also got a triple EX, which I believe were the repeat EX of who was the first one for Ifrit, who had the new EX for Ifrit?
Vanille.
Yeah, Vanille, Sarah, and Setzer. So I believe there's a triple EX banner for those 3, which is an amazing banner retrospectively, and hopefully will be much better moving forward when those characters get another life. So that is all the news today. Oh, that's just my stream. I'm doing more than one thing at once. I'm not supposed to do that. Too easily distracted. So let's talk about Vayne. And we talked about Vayne, Conqueror's Duty, in great detail. First, there's a couple. We'll talk about Abyss and the community stuff there, but a a lot of people feeling underwhelmed, it seems, with Vayne. I've seen some stuff on Reddit, some stuff on Facebook, some stuff on Twitter. Are you guys seeing that, or is that just me?
I think
I haven't seen it.
I think it's definitely a minority, because looking at the front page of the subreddit right now, there's a couple of Vayne memes talking about how OP he is. This one, I don't want to call it low effort, but it's a picture of a butter knife cutting through butter, and then they labeled butter content, and then they labeled the knife Vayne, and that has like 150 upvotes.
Yeah,
Crees,
yeah.
don't spend hours writing your evals anymore.
No,
just
just
post up stock photos like this.
Just a picture of butter.
Low effort memes for my analysis from now on.
Picture of butter. That's all.
Can you even call this a meme? This is just a picture with label. I don't know. Okay.
It's low effort.
We'd have 45 new subscribers tonight if I just had a picture of butter on the screen right now. So sorry, folks. I don't. It's too much effort. No, I think there was some people that were like, well, he's not doing as much damage as this character or that character. Because as we talked about last week, he's not a straight DPS. He is a powerful turn manipulating, free turn granting kind of DPS unit. So brings a lot of different things to the table and kind of have to learn how to play him a little bit. And I feel like I've gotten a good sense of that as well. I think you guys have too.
This same argument popped up when Lightning came out, because she was super hyped when she first dropped, and it dropped and people were like, I don't understand. She doesn't do as much damage as, say, Prish in one shot. And it's because I guess people only look at big numbers and not turn efficiency and free turns, stuff like that,
More recently, we had the same sort of things pop up when Lena's Awakening and EX dropped, and everyone was like, why was this so hyped? Even in global, everyone was like, why was Lena so hyped? Why was I told to spend on her? She's so underwhelming for me. And I just, she's my best healer. She's in every party I run nowadays.
Oh, Jake in chat with a callback to the meme, talk about being stretched like butter scraped over too much.
I had a meeting in the city today, and I listened to the podcast on the way there. I hadn't caught it yet. And that first 20 minutes of us trying to remember what that quote from the Lord of the Rings was, Fellowship of the Rings section. That was rough. Like it was rough, like being stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread. So we've all felt like that. But who's not being stretched like butter scraped over too much bread is the number of videos that we got on Macnol, MACNOL, Call to Arm for Conqueror's Duty Cosmos Battle. Macnol received 117 complete video challenge runs of that battle. So 117 of you, with a couple repeats, a couple people doing more than one video, completed the video, recorded it, and shared it on the Call to Arms, which is awesome. Last week, Mino asked Macnol to put up a TCC challenge, which was a way of kind of saying, okay, we know you can beat it with Vayne. Yeah, Zach, Sarah, Lena, Kistis, Cloud, they have some turn mechanics that maybe you can manipulate. But, okay, this is super hard content. In Japan, we know let's differentiate when we talk about the Japan community. We're talking about English-speaking people who play the Japanese game as opposed to the actual Japanese players who we don't really interact with. Is that correct? Is that a fair thing to say? When we talk about the JP community, we're really talking about, generally speaking, Western JP players as opposed to actual Japanese players?
That is fair. I also sometimes read the Ultima is pretty much a wiki, so there's all these general comments as well, and then the Twitter posts. But again, I wouldn't say that's representative of the community at large, right? Because I wouldn't trust the Twitter community and the GL Twitter account, right? But I'm saying, like, it's general, but we can never say all encompassing. You can never, I mean, you can't say that about anything, right? Nothing's absolute. But you're right. Most of our impression is from the English speaking JP players. Yes.
So Mino put out a TCC challenge. Macnol edited in the call to arms, and you guys went crazy, and we got tons of TCC challenges. So these were Conqueror's Duty Cosmos, the level 150 fight. No Vayne, no Zach, no Sarah, no Lena, no Kistis, no Cloud. Any friend was allowed. I'm just going to read the names of the people who completed it to shout out. And if the two of you want to pick one or two team comps that you thought were interesting, let's do that. Strafe, CSAM, Eamon, Slide, Scott, Snoopball, Bakari, Mathematician, Fires, Vayne Novus, Kawei did 2, Jin Lee did 1, Strange Vision, Jab, Layle, who's Aerolai, Chris 5258, who's a streamer, our own Crees submitted 1, Kem Smith submitted 1, Ujik Taipei, and Harkzor all did the TCC challenge, beat this content without any of those characters. Besides Crees, who did it with Sephiroth, Bartz, and Paladin Cecil. Good job, Crees. Were there a couple others that you guys wanted to highlight?
I don't know particularly, and I do want to share Boykaz's stats to back this up. But also, I know that one of the character bounties I put out was Zidane Clear, and I think we got a few of those.
I did one of them.
Yeah, good job to the community. I mean, were there any that you wanted to highlight, Crees?
No, just that I think the community in general was just really amazing with this TCC challenge. The number and the variety of completes we got actually twisted the overall stats of the video compilation once it was all said and done. Characters like Renoa and Sephiroth that had been not in the top 6 before suddenly pushed their way in because they were the next ones to go to after Zach, Cloud, Kistis, and Vayne were pulled out of the equation. Paladin Cecil made a huge resurgence once Lena could no longer be used.
Yep.
Being boosted and being able to provide all that healing while dealing damage was amazing. And in general, I just think it shows the ingenuity of the community that we were all able to come up with very creative ways to get through this.
I think, and I've said that from day one, the coolest thing about what Macnol's doing here is it does bring out, and I think you said it last week, Mino, because there's no high score for these Cosmos events, there's more people willing to do that. There's more people willing to kind of just do creative and fun things.
Let's see if
there was somebody is who in Twitch here. Divine Rydia is saying surprised Agrias wasn't used. I did see an Agrias run. Yes,
yeah, Role's backing up saying there was an
PH did Agrias, Renoa, Bartz. That is the only Agrias run in the TCC challenge. Agrias may have been used other times. So, yeah, but tons of different characters. Pinello in there. Sorry, Serge. Cyan was not used in a TCC challenge. Cyan was used in some of the Call to Arms. There were at least one complete synergy run, Vayne, Paladin, Cecil, Cyan. That should be considered, a handicap. So, yeah, Masaleno saying back in the level 50 areas, people were being very creative. I think now that we're in this Cosmos era, we're seeing a lot of creativity too. So that's really awesome. Appreciate everyone doing that and submitting your videos. And go check it out, Macnol's Call to Arms and Macnol's video compilation, MACNOL, on Reddit, and you'll find all Macnol stuff. Or you can use the bot on Discord and link to Macnol's most recent Call to Arms. There's one up for Abyss, so you can check that out as well.
I was going to say, you bring up the score and the variety. I want to see if this is a good thing or not in the long run, because it seems like these Cosmos scores are so lenient. This is what people have been asking for, by the way, for the longest time, right? More lenient score challenges, because people hated the score system and trying to hit the high score. But now with a more lenient score system, you get a lot more room to mess around, as we've seen. But I bet you that the arguments are going to start coming the other way, saying it's too easy. Like you know the community. There'll always be a complaint one way or another. So I really want to see that. This is one of the biggest complaints the player base has had. Let's see if they actually like it in the long run.
Was it Manta? Was it Manta who said if you give someone $9, they'll complain that you didn't give them an even 10?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Crees. Sorry.
Yeah.
I also just want to state that we're at the top of the player skill level and completion level for the game. I think the majority of players are having more challenge with this than we make it sound. It's not as easy for everyone as it was for some of us.
No doubt. No doubt.
Oh, and so let me supplement this with Boy Kazith's stats that he does for every round. Oh, he gave me even more data since I last checked. But basically, so I don't know if we skewed the results because of the TCC challenge, but this fight was very, very unique and set a lot of records compared to all the past Cosmos fights and the Agrius EX, which is that for top characters, there was an 8-way tie this time. Before it used to be 4 or 5 characters. This time it was an 8-way, very close run with Vayne, Lena, Sephiroth, Zac, Quistis, Jack, Renoa, and Ishtola were all used a ton in these runs apparently. And so another interesting statistic is that the featured character is usually used an abnormal amount of times. And see, I think the TCC challenge might have skewed this. So for Agrius, 79% of the teams used Agrius. And for the other Cosmos, it was about around 50% of the teams. So top one was Renoa for Arc 2 Chapter 3, and of course Sarah for Shiva. This time, Vayne was the most used character, but he was only featured in about 38% of the teams. So that is a very interesting statistic. And I think we might have skewed that by asking people not to use Vayne, maybe. And in terms of unique characters, this was also the widest amount of unique characters used in all of these events. Again, I don't know if TCC Challenge skewed that as well. And it looks like this was also the most complete of any team not using the top characters, the top 8 that we announced. And we also got the most the most submissions for this fight compared to any other fight as well. Usually Call to Arms is averaging between 60 to 70, and this one got 120 submissions.
Yeah.
So something about this event, I don't know if it was our Call to Arms or challenge, or it was just how hyped. Oh, right, the one boss fight, right? That could skew a lot of things.
I do want to go back to what Crees said and just say, so I'm sorry, CSAM. Macelona was asking if there were any Steiner completes in the challenge. There was not. I said no Pluto Knights. CSAM is correcting me. He had Zidane dressed as a Pluto Knight, so Knight of Pluto. So I guess I was wrong there. But I do want to go back to what Crees was saying. And if you are listening, you are joining us, and you have been struggling with it, don't feel bad. Come on the Discord, and we're going to be happy to come look and see what you got and help you out so that you can beat it. If you are listening, we do want to help you. Just go to tccpodcast.com, join our Discord. Everybody's there, all the content creators. We have a good time, and there's a lot of people who are very active and willing to help you out if you are struggling. So we don't want to, shoot it out. So or shoot down anybody who is struggling with that. That's certainly not the intent. But you can also go and check out the video compilation. That's what it's there for, to give you some ideas of like, just to give you an example, CSAM, use Sephiroth, Renoa, Pinello. Well, I got those characters. I think I can do it. Let me see what CSAM did. Or hey, I've got, Renoa and Lena, and maybe Lena will be better than Pinello. She will be. Or I have some other characters that I can do that, and that watching those videos will help. And I also think watching other people play does help you figure out how to play a little bit better and more effectively. So check out those videos and like all those folks who are doing that and subscribe to them as well and support them as well in whatever they're doing. Anything else about Vayne, gentlemen? Okay.
I think we've hit all the key things. We talked about it a lot last week.
Yeah,
So-
I think so too. Nothing to cover. He's very strong.
He's very
He does
strong.
take some nuance to use. He's the new Squall for me.
Yeah.
I've seen countless Vaynes in the co-op because I've been farming it all day, every day with my friend because he was set on getting Sarah artifacts
how's
because
that
he's a
going?
crazy farmer. Terrible.
Yeah, me too. I
We
haven't got one.
farmed double book all bells twice a day from it launch till now, and he said he's gone from gil cap to under 1 million gil.
Yep.
And has yet to see a perfect artifact. A perfect artifact being charged moonlight and the debuff boost, right?
I got one of those today when I was fusing artifacts. Not that I'm going
Yeah.
to use it much
I,
because I skipped Sarah.
And he got really upset because he usually grinds perfect artifacts for all. He's a huge grinder. He grinds for everything. He has almost perfect artifacts on all the characters, and he just got mad at this one because he said he that's RNG, right? He's like, literally, I could not have done more because what he did was he popped a tome for triple drops or a book for double drops when he ran out of those, ran the bells, and then when the bells ran out, because they run out early, right? He would jump into the world of illusions and grind that out with pots until the books ran out. And this is the hardest he's ever grinded for anything, and he didn't get a single perfect artifact. So he's like, I'm done with.
I was able to consistently get 24 co-ops in a 30-minute 3x tome, expending gems for bell refreshes, and fused, I want to say 1,000 Sarah artifacts, and I still have not received a perfect one either. But I did get one perfect for Zach and one perfect for Vayne, and I got 3 passable ones for Sarah. So I'm done with those.
I got 3 debuff attack boosts. That's good enough for me, honestly.
co-ops, what were you doing? I am actually the best player of this game. So that's how we did that. Who was I using? I was using Vayne, Sarah, Kistis. And it takes about 43 seconds to beat the boss using that. And you have to go really, really fast and click on the buttons really fast. But yeah, 24 was pretty good. I was never able to get 25 in 30 minutes. Just with the animations and everything else. So
the co-op's been pretty kind to me. I've gotten pretty good Zac artifacts as well, a nice variety of attack, max brave. Not really any soldier grit boosts, but I'm not a huge fan of the passive anyways, just because of the last stage or the last wave conditional. My Vayne artifacts are still iffy. I've not been getting many attack 108s on him, and I'm still struggling with that. But otherwise, I've been doing okay with artifacts from this co-op.
Yeah, Jake, that's 43 seconds, the actual battle. Then you have to do there's the intro animations and the battle animations, and then there's the clicking through the loading time and getting, So yeah, it's about 1.5 minutes each one. A little under 1.5 minutes, I think. So, yeah. Yep, it's a nightmarish thing to have to do, but you do it enough and you get pretty good at it. So let's go to more content that's much more fun than grinding, and that's called Abyss Beta. Now, before we get into Abyss, let's talk about the banner and what came on the banner, including Squall's rework and Layle EX. So, Crees, do you want to take us through what seed Squall got in his Awakening rework?
Sure. The main problem with Squall's original rework was that he burned through ability uses really, really fast. And he had that annoying int brave conditional in order to be able to activate his empowered abilities. And if he couldn't use his empowered abilities, he really was not very good. It caused a lot of problems. It meant he could not party with most brave batteries at all. Selfie was really one of the few exceptions because she raised his int brave quite a bit in the process. And this Rework completely tosses that to the side because now Squall gets a new buff called Solitary Lion from when he uses Solid Barrel, which means that which basically lets him just use his empowered abilities all the time. He doesn't have to worry about the Brave conditional anymore, so that's great. Other things it does, he gets another use of Solid Barrel. Solid Barrel Plus now always triggers an HP attack. Solid Barrel Base Form will trigger an HP attack if he hits a Brave conditional of 80% of his max Brave. He now does a lot of damage with Solid Barrel Plus because it can Brave overflow up to 150% max Brave. Renzo Kukin Plus now deals 100% splash damage. And while Solitary Lion is active, Squall gets access to a nice Brave Plus, which does some AoE Brave Shave, and a nice HP Plus, which does 50% HP damage to other targets. It's really good. I don't think it makes him amazing. His EX is still not great because it can't Brave Overflow. He will cap basically on every attack now once he gets Solitary Lion up. From my experience, he's really strong. He's also ridiculously fast still. He burns through abilities really fast if you don't rely on his Brave Plus and HP Plus. But he's a lot better now. He works in a lot more parties. He's fun.
Yeah, and his Brave Plus and HP Plus were pretty fun. So yeah, are pretty good as well. I will say, one of the things with Vayne, I think people are not realizing his kick and pummel abilities in his Brave and HP spot are actually really, really powerful. And so now that we're in the Cosmos era and moving up to Chaos eventually, you have to rely on all of the powers of your characters. So yeah, it's good that they have those abilities, and more you're going to want to have those characters with Brave and HP plus. I love Squall. He's probably my second favorite character in all of Final Fantasy. I'm glad to be able to use him again, even though his EX still sucks. His other
I will say that Squall's rework does definitely bring him up to the current era. The fact he has that Brave Plus and HP Plus means he can actually last in the longer Cosmos fights when needed. And that's one of the big bonuses for Vayne too, because that pummel and that kick are so strong, he can stick around for a long time while still dishing out good damage, even when he's saving ability uses. And that's something that people might neglect to observe and check out. Brave Plus and HP Plus are definitely, especially HP Plus, are definitely going to be in vogue for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he made it onto my permanent farm team. When I want to AoE clear trash, he replaced Setzer? Yes. Wait, no, he replaced Twins for me. My Twins don't have the EX. They're not very geared.
Yeah. Yeah, he's much more usable. Again, I'm not sure this is a banner worth pulling on, but if you already have Squall, you're going to be able to use him with or without his EX. His EX just gives him some more longevity and another boost. So we also got, unfortunately, no rework, but an EX for a character named Layle, and he also came with a fancy tuxedo. So what's Layle's EX do, Crees?
It does a couple of things. It's on a fast recharge. I don't have it myself, so I'm not quite sure how that works in practice. I believe it makes it so he can actually use it relatively frequently. But his EX ability is Gaebolg, which I'm probably not pronouncing right. Gaebolg? I don't know. It's a
No, you're right. Gaebolg is the correct pronunciation.
Okay. It's a 4-hit AoE Brave plus HP attack. It does HP damage to a single target. It can Brave Overflow. It also basically sets all enemies in knockback status. So his primary target will be knockback and trigger a chain attack. The other enemies on the enemy party will be basically ready for a knockback and chain attack next time they're hit. Sort of like how Noctis's ability works. He also gets a party aura that in a unique buff called Clavashan Heart that raises party attack and also makes it so knockback is even easier to trigger because it adds more chain attack units to all abilities used. And when it's fully limit broken, Layle gains access to an HP plus that raises his Brave based on his max Brave before triggering an HP attack. basically, this solves a lot of the issues Layle had for a long time. He can now launch more frequently. He can trigger launches without burning ability uses. He can make it so it's easier to launch enemies just by being present and having something that he can recast without having to burn his very limited ability roster. I believe everyone who's had him finds him pretty strong, especially for this Abyss event. He's very good for the stage 3 Cosmos, I'll say that. Before we get into the Cosmos fights, he's very good for that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people pulling or at least throwing tickets and getting lucky, which I don't know anything about, for Layle. And it seems, of course, with this Abyss, people have been bringing Layle and getting very high scores because of the knockback. I wasn't, I don't know, I wasn't too excited about just an EX as opposed to a rework and an EX. But I don't think anyone who's got him has been disappointed. So if you like to knock things back and you like Layle, then I think it's probably not a bad thing. The banner itself is Squall, Layle, and Yuri, which isn't a terrible banner with 2 EXs and and 3 decent characters, no game-breaking characters, but not terrible characters. And of course, Yuri comes back in a big way, but you also need his EX at that point later. So not a terrible banner. Certainly I didn't pull on it. I assume neither of you pulled on it as well.
We all pulled for Zach and Vayne. Yeah, I think we're all low on resources at the moment.
Pretty much. I'm at 504 tickets into Zach's banner.
Everyone I'm speaking to passed on it, and by I mean not on Discord, but all my friends who play, and I'm disappointed because I keep saying I think Layle's EX is really good. It's not meta defining, but it has a lot of utility throughout Cosmos at least, and people who don't have it don't notice the difference because it's a huge boost to his max brave. The EX giving stats. Correct, Crees, do you have the number off the top of your head? I want to say
for 80%. His EX. No, I don't.
I want to say at 60 to 80%. And first of all, that's huge because it increases how much he batteries by a large amount, making him Cosmos viable again. It's a night and day difference. And putting everyone in launch state, although we don't need the scores anymore, it's still turn efficient. It still does boost your score if you do need to if you ever do need to hit a score requirement. And if I didn't go broke on Zach and Vayne, I would have allocated gems for this.
Yeah, honestly. Final Character 7 saying it's a really fast charging EX, so you use it a lot. Chris 5258, make sure you check out Chris streaming. Says Layle was a nice pickup. Hate 13 says hell fun to use. Raganamune says I'm a Layle fan now, Mino. So a lot of
Raganamune brings up a great point. It is amazing for speeding up summons, which some fights really do need.
Yeah.
So I'm saying
true.
Yeah, I really do think so. I was trying to convince my friend, because he's rich and super lucky. He has maybe 200k gems, and he's pulled the last 7 EXs off tickets or something. And I was like, this is a good bet. You should get Layle EX. It's really good. And he's like, I know Layle's not meta defining for the rest of the run, which is true. But some characters are just fun, and I really do think it's great utility. Still to this day, nobody launches as well as Layle. And that's a big... again, if I had the resources, I'd go for it. And like people are saying in chat right now, they have no regrets, and in fact are pleasantly surprised at how effective it is. But I think there's, for some reason in GL, too many people are writing off Layle's EX because it's not quote-unquote meta-defining. Now everyone's looking at Charlotta. I visited the main chord for some reason today because I was bored at work. Terrible mistake. People were asking, what's the next must pull? Charlotta. Are you really going to wait 3.5 months for your next pull? I don't know, man. People are sleeping on too many good characters coming up. I'm going to promote the hell out of Porum coming up. I know Aerole's got my back on that, but people are like, well, it's not Charlotta or Ultimisia who are absolute must-haves, then I'm skipping them all. I think it's a terrible mistake. And Layle's EX, I want to say, is the very first example of amazing. Don't just go by meta defining.
Yeah.
I think that's a trick, though. There's a lot of amazing things coming out right now, and you have to pick and choose your battles. Which do you want? Which are you okay skipping? And in some cases, you got to choose favorites over the ones that are deemed top meta. I've pulled my top meta for a little while, so I'm going to be picking favorites for the next couple months.
I mean, same. If the first 70 Awakening banner is anything, that's 75k gems from me. If it's Warrior of Light and Chantoto on one banner, two of my favorites that I don't have, then
Masaleno, I believe Charlotta was one of the Golden Girls, right? Not sure why she's in this game, but anyway, let's talk about Abyss. Mino, do you want to talk about Abyss? Or you want
one of you guys first just give the brief synopsis of Abyss, the format and what it is.
Yeah, so Abyss is a leveled dungeon style of play. If you're listening, you're probably already played it. So you descend through strata or floors down into the depths of the abyss, and the lower you go, the harder it gets. Now, the main floors, 1, 2, 4, and 5, just have regular nodes that you don't have to deal with anything particular besides specific requirements. Each special node, or you would say gold node, I don't know if the other nodes, some of the other nodes, the silver nodes, have requirements. They have special mission requirements where it may say, bring 3 white crystal characters, bring a thrown weapon character, bring a thrown weapon character, 1 yellow character, and 1 sword character. A little hard to see which is the difference between the regular sword and the buster sword, so pay attention. And pay attention because sometimes it's yellow characters times 2. I did that a few times where I brought in 1 yellow character because I just thought it was 1, but it was really a requirement of 2.
The biggest troll for those requirements is great sword versus sword.
Yeah,
I've
tough.
misread that so many times.
That is tough. Unless you're playing on like a 20-inch iPad, you really have to like get up if you on the camera. Like I can't barely see anyway. So those are the regular floors. Then you have the boss node floors, which are Strata 3 and 6. And in each one of those, on Strata 3, there are 4 boss nodes where you bring characters, and those characters get locked out until you finish all 4 boss nodes. And then the final boss node, which is Chaos difficulty, is unlocked, and you can bring anybody to that. But of course, there's no synergy. So just like a normal Heretic event, you need to bring, on Strata 3, 12 different characters, and you also have to get perfect. That means score and all mission in each 4 of those to unlock the final Chaos or Cosmos difficulty node. Strata 6 is actually 6 boss nodes, so a total of 18 unique characters that have to fulfill the mission requirements and the score requirements to unlock that final node. So this is not, maybe I'm the only one again, I have heard a lot. Well, I know I'm not because all 3 of us responded to a Reddit post. I've heard some people complaining that this is too difficult. It takes too many characters, all of that kind of stuff. It does. It takes 18 unique characters who have to be decent enough to defeat, or I can't see it. I think they're level 100 battles, aren't they? Or do they get?
They're
higher
level
than that?
90 or 100 battles.
Yeah.
The other important aspect of this is that you don't just need 18 good characters.
Correct.
A large proportion of those characters have to be black, white, or yellow crystals and be thrown weapons, staffs, great swords, or regular swords, because those weapons show up a lot in the requirements. And especially for those nodes you have to perfect, you need to meet all those requirements to unlock the Cosmos stage.
Correct. Yeah, so 18 unique and specific characters, then you get to use anybody on the boss nodes, assuming you then follow the mission requirements if you want to beat the boss nodes fully. Of course, to beat the boss nodes, you can do it several times. You can do one side for score, one time, for example, in the Abyss 613 Cosmos, one time with a white crystal user, one time with a sword user, and one time with a buster sword user. Or you can try to do it like I like to do it with all of those all at once, because I think that's a little bit more interesting and a lot more fun. But you don't have to do it that way. You can do it 6 or 7 other times and get all of the missions complete and get all the rewards. So I personally love this. Square Enix Joshua is with us or listening later. I love it. I've been on Twitter. I've been on Facebook. I've reached out to them. I think this is great content. I like this content. I think it makes you think. I think it makes me bring characters that I otherwise wouldn't use. It lets me remember, these are the, throne weapon characters that I have. I guess I need to figure out ways to use them and develop teams around them. And that makes me have a different respect for some of these different characters. So I'm really excited about this. I like this kind of content. I want more of this kind of content. What do you guys think about Abyss?
Crees, you want to go first?
Sure. I felt that in general for my roster, which admittedly I've been relatively lucky, and I think I'm the luckiest out of all the co-hosts, so I have a pretty diverse roster to tackle this. Nothing was terribly challenging. I had to think through which characters I could lock out for which stages and how I would meet all the requirements going through. But my roster was good enough that I could fulfill everything in one shot, with the exception of the couple times I mixed up great swords and swords, which means that from the diverse roster, from someone who's been playing since practically day one looking in, it's a pretty fair event. There's a lot of requirements for character diversity. Most of them can be tackled relatively easily if you have been playing long enough to get a large roster going. And I didn't feel like any of the fights were unfair or cruel or impossible to tackle without certain characters. But certain characters definitely made it easier.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a little on the opposite of the spectrum for Crease. A good amount of the nodes took me 2 run-throughs, one for the requirements. One for the objectives, and then another for score. Even a good number of the trash nodes too. But I was fine with that because this is time-consuming content for me, and as people are saying in chat, and one of the most popular complaints, I'll get to all of them in a second, but one of the most popular complaints, the biggest complaints, is that the trash nodes had these same requirements. So people had to constantly switch their teams every fight and plan every fight, and it got tedious to them. Well, as someone who only plays a couple of fights a day, that was great for me. Because instead of mindlessly going through these trash nodes, like it's just going through the motions, it was like, I had to pause and think a little bit before each fight and say, okay, let me swap my party around and see how I do it with this. And so as it's advertised as permanent content, I think this is fine. This is something you're supposed to be taking your time on, not rushing through it in one sitting. So I didn't mind that, but I know that just so the feedback is reached, that was a complaint by a lot of people that every node needed so-and-so requirements, and they just wanted it on the boss nodes. As for the event itself, from what I've seen in the community, it's more positive than bad. Sure, there's a lot of complaints, but from what I've seen, there's been like 3 times as much praise every time I see a complaint. Mark brought up a Reddit post before. There was this Reddit post that got deleted that we all responded to because the person had been playing for a month and a half, 5 to 6 weeks. No, they re-rolled on Renoa, whatever that is, a little over a month, and said
I did the
that,
math out. It was like 7 to 9 weeks or something like that.
All right, so let's say a month and a half, and they said this should have been enough time to build up a roster to complete the content, this feels super biased. And there are other newer players who are complaining as well, saying it doesn't feel good to have content that newer players can't complete. But I don't know how much bias is in this statement, but I responded to the message and I said that, when the GL exclusive Heretics came during garbage time, people who have been playing for 6 months didn't have wide enough rosters for it, because this is content specifically catering to very long time veterans or people who diversified their pulls. That's another thing. People who only pulled meta were complaining. Some people were saying, I was told to re-roll for Renoa and Vayne, and I did so, and I can't do this. And I know a lot of veterans in our community were also saying, good. Like, there should be content that punishes re-rolling. There should be content that punishes meta sheep. Like, you should be pulling for a wide variety instead of focusing all of your gems onto the next quote-unquote future-proof character or meta-defining character. Like, there should be content out there that rewards the other type of player. Otherwise, the game is too formulaic. And
I want to jump in for 1 second and just point out one thing. This event, this Abyss event, is permanent quote-unquote content. It is not going away in a week or 2 weeks. It is sticking around, most likely for months. They don't have an end date for the Abyss beta. They said that the stages will reset or go away once the full version comes out, but that's not going to be for at least a month, probably longer, which means people freaking out that they can't complete this within 24 hours of it releasing, that's a little ridiculous. You got to think about it in the long term. You can't complete it now, but it's a goal to work towards, instead of something you have to one and done finish right now.
How many days, since I've collected them all, I don't know, how many days do we have to collect the limited time rewards?
A week. So that is fair.
It's 2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks?
Or it's a week and a half from now, 2 weeks total from the start of the event. So it'll be when the community stream likely happens in a week and a half that the rewards will go away.
So
I know this was
out. Oh, go ahead.
You can. I'm saying I know this was a common complaint, and I'll get to this later. How this is a combination of events that JP had, but this is specifically the permanent, ongoing content is copying FEOD, or far ends of the dimension. JP has, which is we'll get to that later. But basically, their beta had temporary rewards, which pissed people off because it was big too. Their temporary rewards were the ingots that you need for EX Plus, right? So, but then when the permanent thing came, there were no such timed events. Square Enix Joshua has said before, like during the stream, that they're monitoring how many people clear, how they clear, etc. That's what the beta is for. So I think the temporary rewards are to kind of incentivize people to play this content so they can gather data. But also, like, let's be real, guys. The limited rewards are so insignificant. It's a handful of tickets. I want to say 10 or 12 per the 3 stratas, and then 2 weapon tokens. Total of 4 weapon tokens, which is a week's worth of logins. I don't think you'll ever reach a point where 4 weapon tokens is going to make or break the difference between you getting a weapon. Like, these are very insignificant rewards. Like, it's not even gem.
You get almost as many draw tickets just from the live stream happening once a month.
Exactly.
Right.
So hold up. Pearson Spectre is saying, I started in June and was able to do it. Fugo Twitch said I started after Sephiroth LC and completed it too. So,
right, I don't think this is hard. As I said in the, I don't
think you have to be a day one player to beat it if you started 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, like as I said to the reply in the post, these rewards and requirements are biased towards Squall and Layle, both who are permanent characters, both who can do this with just their 35s, no EX, because I did it, because I only have their 35s and no EX, and I've cleared everything so far. And all that costs you is a few weapon tokens. I don't know what else you're using your weapon tokens for, but if you're a brand new player, I know that going through all the tutorials and beginner chocobo boards and doing some weekly logins, you'll get at least enough for 135. And with just weapon tokening one or the other, you can get through most of this no problem. It just takes a little patience, takes repeated runs, objective and then score, but it's very doable. And I think, I don't know, I just don't want to give weight to these complaints because, one, it's new players and people who followed the meta complaining. And this is specifically geared towards not them. They're not the target audience. It's longtime players. Josh even said on stream, this is permanent content, so don't freak out if you can't beat it right away. It's meant to encourage you to build your roster over time. And
it is important to say that the beta will disappear, but assuming we get an actual Abyss, it will be permanent, just like the Lost Chapters, just like the regular chapters. The beta will disappear, but eventually Abyss, just like Far End of Dimension, can just be permanent content that you can spend time and do and get tons of free stuff along the way and just have fun doing it. It's just fun content that I did get it done before the show, but if I wasn't doing a weekly podcast, I probably would have taken more time to do it as well.
Arola is mentioning in chat that we did actually get a very good half-off banner this week that has Lena, Cloud, and Kistis on it. No EX weapons, but all three of those characters,
usable.
If you just have their 15 and 35s, they're pretty strong. Not like super duper amazing. Their EXs do benefit them quite a bit, but they're still really good for this.
And the campaign banner's not that bad, and we're going to get another double EX banner along with this Abyss campaign here coming up. So,
another thing that was mentioned in chat while we were talking is Laziel Chicago, backed up by other people, said people seem to forget how hard the first set of Lost Chapters were. They dropped, they were permanent content, and many people could not clear them right off the bat. Like, you needed a pretty stacked roster. Vanilla,
I could not do it.
Yeah, Vanilla LC, you literally needed Vanilla 35. So, with no pity and reputation of being bad, and just to clear that. But those were restrictive fights, same complaints, same thing, and they had more significant rewards because that was armor tokens when 35 CP armor first dropped. So that was even more significant. And it's just sometimes, honestly, not all content can be for everybody. Sadly, the game still has plenty of content for new players, and even if you miss out on these temporary tickets, you're still going to get the high shards and the gems associated with them while they're around, as Mark said.
I just feel like there's some people that just want to mindlessly, auto battle the content, and that's fine. Go play a game where you can auto battle the content.
There's also plenty of content in game that you can auto battle. You don't even have to leave the game to do it.
Right. I mean, there is plenty of things to do in terms of the auto battling. This is also a game that's super easy to level characters, super easy to crystal strength characters. So there's no stamina in the main game. So I do like things that slow you down a little bit, make you think. It just adds another dimension to the game and another style of play, which I really appreciate. Let's briefly go over the Strata 3 Cosmos and the Strata 6 Cosmos. So the Strata 3 Cosmos...
Oh, Mark, sorry. Before we go into the Cosmos fights itself, I just want to do a quick shout-out. A person over in the main Discord, Moyama, put together a spreadsheet kind of emulating what the Japanese communities used for their Abyss-like, where he's tracking characters used to clear the stages up to the Cosmos fight and who they used to complete the Cosmos fight with. And the spreadsheet's been growing. It's been going around. We have it pinned in the Crystal Chronicles Discord now. And I've gotten my stuff in there. I don't know if you have yet, Mark, but there's a lot of completes in there and a lot of varied rosters. So
very cool.
Just something to keep in mind. There is a resource out there if you want to see what other people are doing to get this done.
And we did call out to 5DPZ. Him and some of his guys did, or maybe just him, did a image or a chart that had all the crystal colors and all the weapon types kind of in one image, and we also have that pinned. So if you're trying to look and kind of at a glance, who can I bring? Because for me, sometimes that's the issue. I forget, like, oh yeah, so and so, and I did that for 3-9. So 3-9, you fight a Kraken, you fight Ghost Brothers, or not Ghost Brothers, the Heretic White. You fight Tiamat, and then you fight 3 mannequins in 4 waves.
Sephiroth mannequin, always fun.
Yes, Sephiroth mannequin is always fun. And the requirements are, and again, you can do this several times to get the complete. You don't have to do it all in one run. A black crystal character, a thrown weapon crystal character, and a Buster Sword. And of course, now look at the banner. The banner is Squall, who's black and Buster Sword, Layle, who's thrown, Yuri, who's regular sword and white, and you'll see that, of course, all throughout this. So this Abyss does seem to gravitate towards that banner. But thanks to Inkwelder, of course, Ink was on with us a couple weeks ago and does all the cool infographics with the Tomberry Troop. Ink's like, don't forget Setzer is black crystal and a thrown weapon. So I brought Setzer to that battle along with somebody else. I don't even think it matters. And was able to do that fairly well. So that was one good strategy. We don't have a lot of thrown weapon characters. The thrown weapon characters at the moment,
the ones I can think of
well, I
are
can tell you what they are
Layle,
right now.
Setzer,
Yep.
Waka,
Yep. Setzer,
and Yuffie.
Shadow.
Layle,
I used Shadow for a few runs.
Shadow, Yuffie, Fujin. Yeah, Fujin, Waka, Hope, and Ace. So anybody got their Ace EX working, it may have proved
I completely
fairly well.
forgot about Hope.
Yeah, don't forget about Hope. Yeah, so don't forget about Hope at all. I completely forgot Erolai. I completely forgot about Waka until I was looking back at it. Oh yeah, Waka's a thing. But I know if you got Layle EX, even if you don't have Layle EX and you have his 35, you're going to be fine using Layle in that. But I think Setzer's also a good choice. Yuffie's a good choice as well. But Setzer's really clinch in some of those with his freeze ability and his turn delay ability. So
I will say that the requirements for these Abyss beta stages really pushed me away from using a decent chunk of my roster. For example, I did not use Kuja at all. I barely used Renoa because they cannot meet any of the requirements. They're unique weapons, and they are not the crystal colors that are reflected for these requirements.
Yep.
So they
I want to touch on that later.
And you could only bring Lena to one of those boss nodes, so you had to choose. For Strata 6, I brought Lena on where did I use Lena? I used Lena on 610. So
I used Lena on 6-9 myself.
Was that the one with the Marbles? Because
I decided to do that.
I just took the bad breath on that one. I'm like, I'm just going to take the bad breath and see where that leads me, and I was able to beat it. So no cheesing.
On 611, I think also had Malboros, and I brought Sulfie for that to try to.
Oh, I think I turned my mic volume down there. So that brings us to the final node, the final Cosmos, which was Strata 613. The requirement, again, white crystal user, sword, and Buster Sword. And, of course, white crystal user and sword is Yuri in one character, and then Squall is the Buster Sword. Yeah, thankfully, I know this gave a lot of people trouble with the sword. So, Crees, who did you bring as your sword user?
For this stage, my sword user was Bartz. I used a team of Bartz, Lena, Vayne.
Yeah, I believe I used Vayne, and is there a white sword user? Let me look.
Warrior
Yuri.
Blade.
Oh, Yuri.
Yuri.
I was
Warrior.
trying to think who I used here. I used Agrius as my sword user, and Lena as my white, and then Vayne as my kill everything and burn it down to the ground. Characters.
Also great.
Yeah, and Onion Knight too. He's a good sword user. I used him several times. Furious.
I used
Titus,
Furion quite a few times for the sword.
Harith, yep, saying Furion and Titus, good choices. So, no reason to hold back on those Cosmos. Bring your good characters. They weren't. I mean, with the most powerful characters, they weren't terribly difficult. But I thought they were fun battles, and I thought they were interesting. And I really like plotting out like this level 6 strat. I really liked a lot. I like plotting out, okay, which teams am I going to use? And, if I do this, whose synergy is going to be blocked out? Who's going to be blocked out for this one? And, I like to spend the time and do that. And I think that's a lot of fun. I know some people. Yeah, Ramza, Final Character 7, Ramza, sword and yellow, along with Bart's too. So that was, they got some use, especially if you had Ramza EX. So, again, I think this is great. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. So, anything else about Abyss Beta?
Yeah, I got this whole little section in the outline. Sorry to go off tangent at the end, but basically, I wanted to give a history of JP's equivalent, and then the biggest complaints.
Yeah, okay, are you talking about Far End of Dimension, or are you talking about another thing that they got?
It's a combination of both.
Because this is different than Far Ends of Dimension.
Yes, okay. So what it is there is an event just called Challenge Event that dropped during Vaughn's EX Plus, which was exactly this, right? Which is exactly a few stratums, trash mobs with specific requirements, but when they had it, it was only tied to weapon type, and it wasn't as restrictive as ours. And then a heretic-style lockout on the third floor, and then they had a few floors of that as well. And then they take the Far Ends of the Dimension format by making it permanent and planning to add on to it every month, right? So it's a combination of two things. So this isn't a completely new thing, but it is a new thing for GL, just a Frankenstein monster of a few different events JP got, which I think is good, because Far Ends of the Dimensions is straight boss fights back to back to back. And then this is a little more like, hey, show up with a varied roster. So it's a mix of both, which I think is an effective combination. The complaints about that you mentioned earlier, I want to bring up about how restrictive the requirements seem to be, does seem to be a problem that JP didn't have. When this event dropped in JP, each fight had 3 different objectives, and all objectives were just a different weapon type, right? So, for example, their fights would be a sword user, a dagger user, and a staff user, or a thrown weapon user, a gun user, and a great sword user. And those were all their fights across the board. So all of their objectives were just one of each weapon type, which I think made it very fun. Ours is very skewed because it's more than one crystal color. More than one of one crystal color and more than one of one weapon type. And then they combine them. And the problem is they're skewing it towards the current banner, because one of the fights I remember is the biggest complaint is one fight was 2 yellow crystal characters and 2 thrown weapon characters, and it was one of the boss fights, so you had to get all the objectives in one run. That basically forces you to use Layle, right? Because he's the only yellow thrown weapon character in the game, even in JP today, and you needed to do it to save space to get the other objectives, which is much more restricting than what JP got. And I understand the complaints for sure. But I did talk to a couple of veterans and other JP players. They said, look, events skewing towards the newest banners is nothing new. Honestly, it should be expected. So, but I feel like the unfortunate thing is that this was promoting Layle, and Layle is just too unique a character, because the other most common thing we saw is Black Greatsword, and there's a couple of those, right? Like we just got Zac, we got Squall, there's a ton of Dark Crystals, there's a ton of Greatsword users. I remember one node said 3 Black Crystal characters, and I got to bust out Kayn and Golbez along with Zac, which is really fun. But yellow thrown weapon, that's ridiculous. Because out of our roster of nearing 100, there's only one character that fulfills both of those. That's just too rare of a type, which is very unfortunate.
I think I would have preferred to see like each strata having a theme as opposed to the
Yeah, that's what
entire
people expected,
abyss.
right? People expected a much more like a coverage of all weapon types and of all crystals, and I think the disappointment was that it was too focused on yellows and blacks and thrones and great swords.
Yeah, Macnell's saying the abyss lasts 2 weeks. There will be like 4 new banners in that time. Skewing it so much towards one is a bit nonsensical, considering. Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's an issue that we have.
Yeah.
So
So I'm saying, like, I know this event was apparently very well received in JP when it dropped because it was just one of each weapon type for all the fights. So that sounds like a lot more fun and what people wanted, but they skewed it a little hard this time. And I'll give them a pass because it's the beta. So when the permanent thing comes out, there's still a chance that it's much more varied, right? And secondly, of course, they're going to promote the new banner. It's just unfortunate it was Layle. Like the Squall Black Greatsword pandering, that's fine. There's plenty of alternatives, but Layle is just too unique. So I think it was just bad timing. To be honest.
hey, well, Abyss was yesterday's. Abyss was yesterday's news. As of 11 minutes ago, we have a new lost chapter. So let's talk about Rydia Lost Chapter. I know we're all excited to talk about Rydia. She's so great. She's my favorite girl character who's not Rosa in Final Fantasy IV. So Crees, tell us all about Rydia.
Mino, I'm getting a little bit of echo through your mic, just FYI.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it just when I speak? Let me.
No, it's when Mark speaks. I'm hearing an echo.
It's
with
when
him.
I'm talking.
Let me just. But go ahead.
Okay. Anyways, Rydia. Just mute yourself, Mino. I'm echoing now.
Okay.
And I'm not going to talk over an echo of myself. Okay, so Rydia. Rydia came late in the 50s era. She was the last event that we got before we got our first Awakening wave, and she was immediately outclassed by Terra, sadly. And right now, well, she's at the end of the 60 era, and Rate of 70 is about to arrive, and she's going to have a little bit of time to shine before she gets outclassed again. But anyways, what does Rydia do? Well, Rydia basically leans heavy into the elemental enchanter enfeebler and imperiler role now. Her EX ability now does water resist down. She gives everyone water enchant through summon Leviathan, and her awakening passives just really bring her up to power. Flare gets a couple more uses. It now has multiple brave hits. It can brave overflow, magic attack up now lasts longer. With summon Leviathan, it now raises Rydia's max brave before any brave hits. The number of brave hits is up to 4. Brave can overflow up to 150%. Her max brave up is a little better. She triggers an AoE HP attack afterwards. So yeah, Rydia, I think the best way that I have to compare Rydia to is she is the next in a long line of elemental attackers. So similar role to characters such as Fujin, Garnet, Lulu is a more recent example. Rydia is that. She is the water version of Lulu with an EX weapon. And she's strong. She's a really solid mage. She can do a lot of AoE damage thanks to summon Leviathan. Her EX ability does 100% HP damage to all targets. She gets a party aura thanks to her EX ability. And she ignores defenses with her EX ability. So overall, she's solid, but she doesn't really bring anything super unique to the team. She's just another strong mage.
Is my mic better now, Crees?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, I don't know what caused that. Hopefully, Pierre edited that out of the show as the.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that you know how much Pierre edits or doesn't. Edit.
I really try
not
to.
Like that's going to be in the show, just so you know.
A unique thing. For some reason, I keep in touch with the old Triple Break JP players, and they're reading your eval, Crees, and they wanted me to deliver some stuff. We talked about it during the show, and Xenon's listening to the show right now. He wanted some feedback in just to give another side of the story, and he's saying,
Wait, first of all,
Rydia-
isn't Xenon listening to relaxing Final Fantasy music?
No, he decided to grace us with his presence on the show today
nice
for
to
some
see
reason. But the feedback. So he's saying this is well, I mean, in general, it's another example of a great character being overlooked because they're not the best at something. But the general consensus that they had is that Rydia is still a very solid character for several reasons. Crease is right; it's nothing super unique, but it's a combination of things like Warrior of Light later gets a combination of a lot of things that makes him good. Not saying Rydia is the next Warrior of Light or anything, but they're saying it's a very significant attack and max brave aura / buff for the party. Because if you want to compare it to Lulu 1-to-1, Lulu doesn't buff attack. Rydia does 60% M brave aura. The next highest is Rat Girl. What's her face? Freya at 65, but beyond that, no one comes close. But you're right, there's a lot of 40% out there with 50 with Rosa, etc. But it's a huge combination of the attack max brave, the only water imperil for whatever that's worth. Not that you have to take it to water weak, but just anything that doesn't resist water, which is a good amount of enemies. She won't be doing the most damage, but also he wants to point out that there aren't a lot of enchanter and imperiler characters. There's not a long line going up to chaos, so it is a bit of a good niche, and that actually
so
and
there's not a lot of enchanters or imperilers, and they just never make that big of a difference. Even in Japan currently, right? I mean, they've made jokes about the imperil meta. It's not really even a thing. I mean, they're doing in those fights, they're doing enough damage to be okay, but there's just base damage dealers that are always better, right? I mean, you're bringing a character who's doing low damage to enchant other characters who are already doing good damage in certain fights. I mean, I would like the elemental. That was something I really liked in FFRK. They got to that in Record Keeper a lot, where you started to do elemental teams, but it just doesn't seem like it ever really works out well in.
So Roba Isolgan, our resident JP player in chat, is saying it depends, and Xenon here is saying that in certain Cosmos and Chaoses down the line, where characters like Zack and Vayne, who have a lot of hits but don't do a lot on those individual hits, it keeps them relevant by bringing these and it'll make more of your roster viable, is what the JP players are saying right now. Like Robas Sulkin is saying Lulu's getting some teams through Chaos through this gimmick alone, and Xenon saying there are some fights where at the end of Cosmos and even in the early Chaos where Zack and Vayne damage isn't enough, but a good Enchanter Imperiler will make them actually viable. So that's food for thought. We're not saying this is the meta, but if we're talking about Abyss becoming a more regular thing or more rounds of global exclusive heretics, it is something to consider, right? Because I think the host did talk about that moving forward. Because of Abyss, we're going to be promoting more roster diversity rather than who does what best.
We haven't talked about that yet, but that is our discussion.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so, like, for that reason, I think, like, Rydia is one of those rare jack of all help me out here.
Well,
the alcohol.
She's not really.
Jack
I mean,
all,
she's very focused.
She does several things above average. I mean,
she's not a jack of all trades. She's an imperiler, an enchanter, of water element. She's a water mage, right? So I
A
mean,
really good,
that's very focused.
really good aura character as well. If that's the
She's a
only
decent
reason.
aura character.
Yeah, but
I mean,
okay, yeah.
Zach brings better auras technically.
Yeah, Vayne
Rydia
brings
Pretty
technically
good,
brings better max brave to the party
Vayne
thanks
brings
to her
great.
max brave up buff.
Everybody's got
but
auras at this point in the game, so
well, I mean, but like this good of a combination of auras of attack max brave is rare. And then there's being one of the very few water DPS characters, and then she has 100% AoEs too. She has a good handful of things going for her, I think. Of course, not the best in any area, but a combination of everything probably makes her a good candidate for heretic lockout style content.
And I want to make it clear, I don't think Rydia is bad. She's just not super remarkable, in my opinion.
Arola is going to get her EX, and she's going to show us how to use Rydia. So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the Lost Chapter is live. The banner is, oh, sweet Lord. The banner is terrible. Now, I mean, yes, if you want Rydia, it's fine, but your other options are going to be Yang and Shadow. Neither of whom shine until they get their EX plus. To be fair, Shadow's EX plus is pretty freaking cool, and I don't think Yang's EX plus is terrible, but not ecstatic. But yeah, so right now, 35, 15 CP, they're not exactly great. But oh yeah, Shara's a big Rydia fan, right? So you're pulling on this banner as well. So
Shara says he's getting a lot of power stones from this.
Yeah, a lot of power stones on this banner. So good luck. No, Rydia is awesome. I like Rydia a lot. She is unique, and we have said unique characters always have a niche that is going to be is going to be used in the game. So yeah, so good luck. The Lost Chapter is live. Again, that is permanent content. There are temporary rewards these days for, yeah. You have 13 days to get some power stones and for me to throw some more tickets at Zach banner. So I'm excited about that. We're not going to go over, we haven't done it obviously yet. We're not going to go over Rydia's 100 level battle. The level 100, we're not in Cosmos yet for the LCs. It is a like mom bomb, right? And you only have to fight one. It does split off into a couple mobs, but it's one main boss, and you should be able to beat it fairly easily. It's only level 100. I'm not, yeah. Tatsumi
AoE
is saying
damage
Rydia
helps. It has some water weaknesses. It's not going to be terrible. Just bring a healer if you're going to take the big bomb or the explosion.
Tatsumi's saying Rydia is fast and has fast animations. JP liked her for AoE clearing. I believe so, yes. So you don't need her EX for that, correct? You just need her 35 and 15 for the AoE mob clearing, kind of like the twins. So
yeah. How fast is a Twins EX charge? Because I think Rydia is like 2 to 3 turns for 100%
Twins
AoE.
is about 2 to 3 turns too.
Yeah, okay. But I think they're both pretty fast.
For spamming, for like clearing mobs real quick, the Twins animation is longer than like Setzer. But there's some content like Setzer's not doing a lot of damage. Now Squall is doing if he's by himself, Squall is doing a lot, but his animation is really, really tough as well. So
a side note, I just want to say Rydia's animations are terrible. I feel like they fell asleep on the job. It's very disappointing when everyone else is getting full on summons, and one of the most famous summoners in the series is getting particle effects.
You don't even see it's like an incomplete. It's like she starts the summon like in the game in Final Fantasy IV, but then there's no summoning.
I know, even the twins get like body parts that are coming out, like a tentacle here,
like the portal
a trident there.
But it is a quick animation, so those of you who would rather have short, of course, in FFRK the limit break animations were like 5 minutes each. So if you're trying to clear content real fast, it's a pain in the butt. I have no idea. why they choose the animations they do. So that is what it is. So going to our host discussion, since we have this new content called Abyss, and it's making us kind of think about, okay, which weapon guys do we have? Which crystal color characters do we have? Do you think your pull strategy or the way that you approach pulling moving forward is going to change given Abyss? I'm like, for example, like, oh, well,
yeah.
I don't have a lot of good thrown weapon. I don't have any thrown weapon EXs. So is that something I want to pick up? That's kind of what I'm talking about.
I'll go first because I have notoriously the worst luck, and that is, for me personally, not too big of a change because I pull on dumb things all the time just for fun. Like, I want Layle EX. If I had the resources, I would throw them. So anytime I have extra resources, I actually, before this, was always checking where's the gap in my roster. For example, everyone talks about having a gap in their knuckle users, so they're screwed if Abyss ever needs knuckle users. And I'm always conscious of stuff like that to have at least one decent. That's not true. I don't have any decent knuckle users either. But but the point is, it doesn't change my pulling habits. But I know that you plan more meticulously.
I do.
And Crees also as well. You guys aren't as strict with your resources as I am. So
I'm relatively loose with my resources, and yeah, I don't plan too far ahead.
So it doesn't change anything for you either?
My roster right at the moment is diverse enough that I can dig into it and find characters to meet the requirements. They might not be the best characters, but they have weapons.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to touch on what Mark said, which is basically or what we said earlier, which is I do encourage this content for people to pull loosely and have more fun with the game. Like, people who just pull for favorites or shotgun pull are more rewarded by content like this. It gets really stale if everyone's always asking for what is the next meta defining character to hoard and pull for. And we have so many people in our community with like 500, 600k gems just saving for the next meta defining character.
We don't have a lot of people like that. We have like 2 or 3 people with over 500,000 gems who I don't think they're hoarding for anybody. They just are,
they're just hoarding
frugal.
The hoard.
They're just frugal in their approach.
And this is like the push out the door to enjoy the game and not treat it as just a statistic, I think.
Yeah.
So Mark, how about you?
Well, I think I'm going to be paying more attention to some of my unused weapon types. I don't have a lot of good staff users, so it was making me think, well, maybe I want to, if we get a Warrior of Light Shoutout EX double banner, maybe I want to pull on that and, you get those 2 EXs now as opposed to later. So, it may very well change my pull strategy, yeah. Crees, any thoughts?
I mean, I already said I'm not really going to be changing my pull strategy. I've generally been lucky enough that I have a diverse enough roster, and early on in the era during 35 and early EX, I pulled on everything anyways, so I have a bunch of characters with weapons that, as I said, are not necessarily great, but I was able to meet the requirements for all these stages without too much work. It was just making sure I brought a decent character with them to carry through.
Okay, so who's already pulled Rydia EX? Shara?
I actually did it while we were chatting about Rydia.
Did you get it?
I got it in about 50 tickets, but I do not have her 35 CP.
Shut up.
Never mind. Why did I ask? Just never talk about your poll results. But the last thing asked. I said, why did I ask? Exactly. I regret it instantly. But so what I'm saying is, because Abyss is supposed to be permanent content, I don't think anyone really should change the way they pull for it. It's just a bonus if you can clear it right away. Because with permanent content, the limited rewards will go away once it comes out of beta. So it's more like, let's say it's this stacked when it actually releases. and it's just yellow and throne. Someday, you okay? Yellow throne's a bad example, but let's say it's like blue greatsword, and you don't have cloud. Someday there will be fuck. Okay, who's a terrible character right now? This is okay. Let's say it's white sword.
Hope.
Let's say it's white sword. Right now, there are no good white
Someday.
swords. You have Yuri and Warrior of Light, right? Someday, they'll get either an EX release or an update or a rework, and then you can come back and finish that content. So it should be no problem. That's the
Or you
beauty.
can just bring a white crystal character and a sword character as two separate characters.
Yeah,
True.
so that's the beauty of the content. So it's more like you're rewarded for it, but you're not punished for not shotgun pulling. So it's not as bad as you think, guys.
I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's quite enjoyable, actually. But it is making me look at my roster a little bit different, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, looking ahead, we have Fran's event, Girded for Freedom. Is that literally what the event's called? That's
According to Decidia DB, yes.
okay. Well, we're gird up for freedom for Bunny Fran. And a Best Beta Banner 2. We don't know if there's going to be any more content with that or just another banner. Maybe no rework.
We're not
maybe
even
a
100%
rework.
certain if the banner is going to exist. Just to be clear, I put that on the looking ahead list just because it's been data mined that there will be another World of Illusion on that date.
Our calendar
Doesn't
does say
necessarily
right.
mean there will be a banner, but there probably will
Yeah,
be.
the banner does say there's another Word of Illusion, so you would think there's another banner to go along with it. What's on that banner? We don't know. Will it be a double EX banner? We don't know, but we'll figure it out. 8/26 would be the most likely next Square Enix community stream, and we are expecting by the end of the month, Level 70 Awakening Wave 1, perhaps Alice Lost Chapter and Porum event coming after that early September. So that is what's on the docket. So next time we talk, we'll probably at least go over Fran and all the good things we got there. No, I have not pulled Zach's EX. I have thrown 504 tickets at Zach. I have not gotten it. I will use my Rydia tickets and see how that goes. I'm not hoping for much at this point, but that's how it goes. So, so thank you, everyone, for joining us live on Twitch. Stay after here if you're with us, and we'll go raid somebody. There's tons of people streaming because the Lost Chapter just dropped, so we'll have good times. So Mino's gonna use Zach. It's fine. I'm glad everyone has what they have. I no hard feelings, and I feel real good about my luck. So if you joined us and you're live on Twitch, do give us a follow. If you are a Amazon Prime user and you've not linked your Amazon Prime, you do get a free sub. And so we would appreciate any subscribers of Amazon Prime or otherwise. But if you are an Amazon Prime user and you've not linked your accounts, do that and give us a subscribe. We appreciate all of that. And we do have nice little badges to celebrate those subscribers. And we may do some other things moving forward. If you are missed part of the show, make sure that you can check it out later on Twitch for the next week. You can go on YouTube, The Crystal Chronicles. You can check our website, tccpodcast.com. That is where we actually upload the podcast version of the show, which is leveled and audioed and mixed and all that. Pierre does that. Thank you, our producer, for working so hard as he does. And that goes out to all of your favorite podcast streaming services. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, which we have many people who listen on Apple Podcasts, please go to the podcast store and give us a 5-star review and a like, and that helps get our name out as well. We are on Facebook and Twitter, so like us at FFTCC Podcast on Twitter and Facebook, and we share all of our information there and get our name out there as well. We just like to invite you to be part of this community and this conversation that we have every week. And if you want to join us during the week, you can join our Discord. So feel free to jump on our Discord, and I'll share it again here in the Twitch. It is on our website, www.tccpodcast.com. So for myself, Mark, for Mino Spellgood, and Crees, aka Zerink, we wish you all the best of luck, good pulling, and goodbye.